Hey guys, I'm going to be comparing the Apple iPhone 5 to the newly coveted Samsung Galaxy S4. We're going to be comparing some of the merits, some of the good things, some of the bad things, the pitfalls, the things people aren't going to be too proud of their device, and see how they live up to one another spec-wise, just on a day-to-day basis, and give you an idea if you're in the market for any one of these phones, which one you should be leaning towards. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and tell you, hey, this one is better, this one is worse, because that's up to you to decide, but I will lay the facts down and you guys can decide from there. If you guys are in the market for an iPhone, be prepared to be locked in because Apple actually does believe that hardware and software integration should be deeply connected and you shouldn't be able to modify too many things about your device. That was actually Steve Jobs' philosophy and it did translate down into the iPhone. So without a jailbreak, you're out of luck if you want to change the icons, anything. You can't even install a theme on an iPhone without having a jailbreak. And just letting you guys know, it's a very, very closed system. Android, on the other hand, you can modify many things straight out of the box. You don't even have to root it to do a lot of the things you have to do with a jailbreak on an iPhone. Now, that is a negative also because on an iPhone, it's just near impossible to get a virus or any kind of malware. On an Android phone, that's a different story because the system is very open. You hear a lot more about, problems with malware on Android. So just take that into consideration, guys, when thinking about purchasing any of these. This is a very closed system. The Galaxy S4 is actually very open and you can modify a lot of the things on your device. Now, when it comes to hardware, the Samsung Galaxy S4 is stuffed to the plastic casing full of all kinds of technological advancements. Power-wise, the Samsung Galaxy S4 clocks in at 1.9 gigahertz, and this is the US version. The international version, I do believe, is said to be at 1.6 gigahertz, so not all S4s will be created equally, but the iPhone 5 clocks in at 1.3 gigahertz with its Apple A6 chip. RAM-wise, the Samsung Galaxy S4 dominates with 2 gigabytes of DDR2 RAM, and the iPhone 5 has 1 gigabyte of RAM. With the specs that we get from the Galaxy S4, it's really not much of a surprise that it almost doubles the Geekbench score of the Apple iPhone 5, which is incredible. And it's always a good thing when we're going forward in the mobile technology race. We get a hugely powerful phone right here, but the one benefit that the iPhone has is that it optimizes its use of the 1.3 gigahertz processor, and it's incredibly fast in many of the applications, including Safari, any game application. You won't notice any hang or hesitation. The Apple iPhone 5 really does optimize its use of the lower powered processor and the 1 gigabyte of RAM, so it really is an incredible feat that Apple has managed to get so much power from weaker specs. 1080p. The Samsung Galaxy S4's display is a full 1080p display. That used to be considered very special on television sets, and now we have it in a mobile phone. So just take that into consideration. Think about it for a couple seconds. A full 1080p display in a mobile phone. The iPhone 5, I'm not saying it's terrible in any way. It's still a beautiful display. I love how you can see it from pretty much every angle. The image is not distorted, and it's still a Retina display. The pixel density is 326 pixels per inch, while the Galaxy S4's is 441. So obviously the Galaxy S4 does have an advantage here, and also being an AMOLED display, that means it does take up less power. So the power consumption is not as great from the display on the Samsung Galaxy S4. And another advantage of AMOLED displays is a darker contrast. And if you're displaying an image, you'll get much darker blacks and darker colors. At 5 inches, the screen from the S4 is considerably larger than the 4 on the iPhone 5, but that's not to say it's more comfortable to use. When I'm using the iPhone 5 screen, I can easily reach across and touch all 4 corners of the screen. That's a different story on the Galaxy S4 where I have to stretch, and I would say it is a two-handed phone when you're texting or just doing something of importance because it's very hard to reach all the way across on this huge monster of a screen. When it comes to cameras, the Galaxy S4 does look better on paper at 13 megapixels versus the 8 of the iPhone 5, but Apple has always been amazing at making very good use of the low megapixel count but still producing very crisp and great looking images. The iPhone 5 particularly shines in the dark. It can get incredibly sharp footage, especially during video when shooting in dark environments. Now the Galaxy S4 I've yet to put to the test, but I will be releasing a video in the future showing you guys a comparison video quality wise between these two devices. So I'm just saying on paper the Galaxy S4 does look better, but that's not to say the iPhone 5 will fare any worse because Apple has always been good good at making good use of its low megapixel count. Now that we have the specs out of the way, I want to go ahead and get into usability and day-to-day use. Software-wise, we're looking at Jelly Bean 4.2.2, Android operating system on the S4, and on the iPhone 5 we have iOS 6.1.3. Off the bat, any infant can pick up the iPhone and know immediately with confidence what he's doing. It's just such a simple interface, very streamlined, and not much has changed over the time. Now, when you go to Android, I've actually had a lot of friends tell me that it does have a little bit of a learning curve, kind of a more complex software because of all the customizability, and it is a more complex software with more control, of course. So it does have a little bit of a learning curve, but in the end, it's very rewarding. Now let's quickly take a look at some of the benefits of each of these devices. Now the Galaxy S4 does have a monster of a screen, and I know many people do have big hands, so it's obviously the natural choice for them. The iPhone 5 is a very small device, so the Galaxy S4 does dominate, of course, in the screen size wars. Also, the Galaxy S4 has many cool software features that I have not seen on the iPhone. The Samsung really does innovate. So here's this cool feature where you can record video or take pictures and have your expression in the video itself too, or a video clip. You can move this thing around, and it's a very cool feature. I'm sure many iPhone users will be able to get this with a future jailbreak tweak, but stock iOS users will not find this feature. There's actually several other very cool gestures as well. So if you want to hold an app and then wave your hand over the screen, it's really cool because you can move it around just like that. It uses the camera, and there's actually several other very cool features. So here's another really cool one. If you hover your finger over the screen without touching it, you can actually control some of the aspects of the software. And right here, this is just a zoom in feature, but you can modify it to your liking. So as you can see right there, my finger is not even on the screen, and I'm able to control that. I do believe it uses heat technology, but either way, I was just amazed when I first heard about it, and seeing that it actually works, that's crazy. And here's another one called Smart Scroll. So if I go into the internet browser, and it actually notices my eyes, it's actually looking for them right now. Okay. So when I move my head up or down, which I'm doing right now, the screen actually moves accordingly. So I'm having a bit of trouble because I'm behind the camera, but it does work, and it was really cool to see that. So Samsung does bring a lot of software innovation to the Samsung Galaxy devices, which Apple doesn't really do. I mean, it does bring innovation, but software-wise, it has been a little lacking lately, which is very disappointing. Of course, you turn around the Samsung Galaxy S4, you pop off the back cover, and you can change your own battery, your own memory card, and it's just really cool that you can customize this. On the iPhone, the only thing you can do is pretty much take out the SIM card. If you want to replace the battery, you'll either have to do it yourself or pay someone else to do it. And it's not a very simple process like it is on the Samsung Galaxy S4. So all in all, if you're getting a Samsung Galaxy S4, the control on it is amazing. You can pretty much do whatever you want, software-wise, hardware-wise. You can change things, modify things. You're not going to get that on an iPhone. Oh, and a couple more things about the Samsung Galaxy S4. It does also have NFC support. You can actually connect it with other devices. You can pay for things with your Samsung Galaxy S4, Google Wallet, all that kind of stuff. It's a very big advantage to many people. And those are the advantages of the Samsung Galaxy S4. I'm sure there are many more, but let's go ahead and turn to the iPhone. Now for the iPhone 5, hardware-wise, it's a beautiful device. In case you guys didn't know, it's built of aluminum and glass, and that's it. There's no plastic on the iPhone 5 whatsoever, so immediately when picking it up, you'll feel a device that's made of quality. The Galaxy S4 is pure plastic. There's not much metal on it whatsoever, maybe internally, but the iPhone 5 is beautiful. So hardware-wise, the iPhone 5 just wins hands down. And if you guys do prefer plastic, it does make for a light device, but the build quality of the iPhone is superior to that of the Samsung Galaxy S4. App support. The iPhone 5 actually has an incredible amount of apps. The iOS App Store is much greater than that of the Android Play Store, so the iPhone 5 has a greater application support. When it comes to software, that's the same as well. Apple updates all of its devices at the same time. The Galaxy S4, each carrier has to decide which update to push out, and it's been a mess. I've owned an S3, I've owned many Android phones, and the software updates are just ridiculous. It takes an incredibly long time. Sometimes the developers don't even do it, so it's just a mess. Software updates on Android just generally tend to take a long time and aren't very pretty. The iPhone 5 is very optimized for the limited resources it does have. The iTunes stores actually have a greater selection of music because Apple is signed in with many of the audio distributors, so you'll get a greater selection of music and videos on the iTunes App Store than you would on the Samsung Galaxy S4. And of course, for many people, just the general usability of the iPhone is very easy. You can just pick it up and use it, and the screen size is comfortable. You can easily reach any point of the screen with one hand, so it's not a two-handed phone. And generally, the iPhone is a very well-rounded experience. The Samsung Galaxy S4, you can control it, you can do anything you want, you can modify in any way, so it all comes down to personal preference, which device you do want to buy. Price-wise, they are very similar. If you want to enter a contract, they will be cheaper, of course, but you will be looking anywhere from $600 to $800 off contract for any one of these devices. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much it. The Samsung Galaxy S4 versus the iPhone 5. I'm sure many people will hate on the S4, will hate on the iPhone, but leave a comment down below. I want to know what you guys think about any one of these devices. I do hope you enjoyed this video, this comparison. That is the Samsung Galaxy S4 versus iPhone 5. Let the wars begin. Anyways, guys, have a great day. Peace.